All right, so we're going to review as many Robert De Niro pictures as we can. I've seen like a lot of these, um, and I'll be frank with you, I haven't seen every single one. Some of them look nearly god awful, if not just all the way barren of quality. Um, Without any if, ands, or buts, let's just begin right now. We have Mean Streets. This is a good movie. It's I think the early '70s Scorsese picture. Harvey Keitel is in it alongside De Niro. They're sort of a dynamic duo. Robert De Niro's character is a little more on the edgier side of the fence. Um, so if we're considering it as a De Niro performance, I'd give it like an A, maybe a B, but probably an A minus because it's a good early De Niro performance, super memorable, and the film is pretty enjoyable by itself, with or without you know the performance any particular um, a, any particularly adroit performance by Robert De Niro. Okay, up next is was it The Godfather Part Two? From what I recall, his role in The Godfather Part Two was not really conducive to me remembering him in a special scene. So I feel like this is going to be like a B because it just wasn't super memorable, even though his role is iconic and the film is even more iconic than his role in it. I just don't remember it being um like I don't remember him being that impactful as an actor in the picture. Al Pacino, I think, was probably more serious in this one. And also, like, it is super cool that Robert De Niro was in this movie because it's Coppola film. It was the second one after the first Godfather, and he's not really associated with Coppola like he's a Scorsese. So I just felt like he's kind of enigmatic in this trilogy, but I don't think he really defines it, you know. So I'll give it a B. Up. Let's keep going. Let's do Raging Bull. Raging Bull. I never liked it. I never liked it. I might just be kind of an idiot. So I would say C because I know he's got some great scenes with respect to the film itself, but I just don't. I'm not like blown away by anything about this movie, and I have tried to watch it on several occasions, some more serious than others, and it just never stuck with me. It's always been a snooze fest. Okay, up next, Deer Hunter. Okay, this one I like quite a lot more. Um, and I think the performance is certainly above average. Probably better than The Godfather Part Two. I'm not going to say The Deer Hunter is my favorite De Niro film, or even like maybe even my top 10 for him, but it's certainly a powerhouse and just considerable portrayal of, of 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 a character that is not super easy to portray, and it's just an excellent piece of acting. But it's just like I don't know. It's like it's not my favorite movie either. It's a weird like psychological um showcase. Okay, let's go up next. Uh, Taxi Driver. Yeah, I would say Taxi Driver is really stunning and Like it just in terms, I mean, it's not like glamorous, but it's just very uh magnificent in the way that he kind of weaves in and out of different moods. And he has to play this deranged guy, and he also has to, keep it together a lot. And it's not like an easy performance, but it's also not like a boring performance. So it's sort of, I would say this is an A. I don't know if I'd go with S. I mean, it's a little, it's some of his acting is it's sort of self-indulgent. So I don't. That's why I hold back from S because I feel like he doesn't really show vulnerability exceptionally well. I think he plays it cool a lot, and he's very kind of there's sort of like an aura of self-importance to a De Niro picture, which is kind of why people want to emulate him so because he has this sort of charging egoism. And up next is King of Comedy. Oh, this one's good. No, this one's funny. I would say this is a lot more vulnerable. I give this an A. But I don't consider this like, a really varied performance. And the character he's portraying is kind of a character anyone could do reasonably well, amongst skilled actors. Just it's not like you needed De Niro in particular. He doesn't really stand out for himself, but I think it was a service, an excellent sort of film, and it's an unusual role for De Niro, so I kind of like that about it. Although I'm sure like a John Voight would have been more interesting. I don't think the casting was necessarily perfect, but it's just a fun movie. Up next, The Untouchables. Yeah, the this one I will give this an S, and only because he's not in it that much. But when he is in it, he just steals the show. And I think as the villain, as Al Capone, he really is so reviling. Like you can kind of sympathize with him because he's charismatic. But then when he delivers his lines, he just feels like a monstrosity. So he really kind of like the best acting in this movie was De Niro, and there was a lot of decent acting. Like Sean Connery got his best supporting actor award for the film, and that's all good. It's all well and good. I think it's an S. What's up next? Jackie Brown. This one's funny. He's not really great in it, but it's funny. I give it a B. I think it's worth knowing about. If you're a fan of De Niro, you're gonna like it. Uh, it's really funny, and he kind of actually he kind of he really does, like I say, he steals the show in all these movies. But in a lot of these films, he doesn't really need to be in the picture. It just sort of accentuates it. But I think in Jackie Brown, actually, he really made the movie worth watching. I don't think that movie would have been all that good if it had someone else in that role. Tarantino can be kind of a perfectionist when it comes to casting, and I think despite Samuel Jackson and some other people in that film who were pretty pretty great at their task, De Niro's character is the most sympathetic. He was, I think, the most intriguing, and the one you kind of were always waiting to see what he'd do next. Everyone else was sort of window dressing. So I give this a B, but it's a curiosity. It's sort of a funny picture. It's not really a serious movie in terms of De Niro's career. Um, Here's one that is more serious, and I think is really good. Cape Fear. Cape Fear. I give this an S. I think Cape Fear. Cape Fear, yeah. So, Cape Fear. This is a remake of a film that I never really could get into in its original form, but the remake in the '90s was with De Niro is really kind of riveting, and it kind of makes your skin crawl, to be blunt. I think it could be. It makes your skin crawl, you know. Sorry for the radio silence. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Yeah, this Cape Fear, the reason it's S and not A or B or whatever, like, is because this movie is entirely revolving around Nero. Entirely. There's not one real sequence where it's like anyone else is really, doing lifting heavyweight. I mean, at least Nero's a larger than life persona. So I think that's weight is the character's name, and that is, you know, um, so, so well, unless I don't want to spoil this film, you have to watch it. It's extremely thrilling, but it's a film that is how do you say it? It's a film that is um, it's a film that is it's kind of builds and builds and builds. Eventually, you get a sense that you're watching like a magnum opus of some kind. And I think Cape Fear is one of the better movies in the '90s by far. I think perhaps underappreciated by modern commercial audience. Okay, uh, Ronan. I know this is a little hands-on, but I just remember seeing this when I was younger. It's, this is an amazing film. It's got some unusual acting chops. It's like I think De Niro had to really kind of be this older character actor for a change. He's really a young screen anymore, so he's playing a criminal that is seasoned and kind of veteran to his environment. And there's a lot the acting that's on display is somewhat deviated from what you'd expect from De Niro, and that's kind of cool. So it's definitely more than a curiosity, but it's not really like a tour de force or nothing like that. Um, Copland. Copland. Copland is a not really a film that actually accentuates De Niro that well. There's one or two scenes that really shine with De Niro, but overall he's not even in the film very often, and often even when he is, it's sort of lackluster. He's not really a central character. So I would say this one is a C, even though the film is quite nice. I often recommend it to friends because no one really guns for a movie like that. It looks like a B movie, but it isn't. It's actually a finely made picture. Uh, a Bronx Tale. Okay, this is one that's a little bit obscure. Um, a Bronx Tale is a little obscure. I think I think the problem with Bronx Tale is that De Niro's role is exceptionally uh it's limited. Like he kind of shows up and kind of says a certain amount of stuff that's sort of predicted based on the drama with the Chaz Palminteri youngster character where he's I mean like this De Niro is not as important in this movie as you might expect from the cover. In this film he is kind of like a wise figure. He's like the dad of the main character, but he's not like a powerful dad. He's like a kind of a losing. He's a dad who's at wit's end, and it's sort of a tragic kind of dude. But you admire his courage. But he's not super involved in like the decision making of the main character. He's sort of a background person with just a lot of personality. I think the acting is really good. Like, I mean, maybe not like his best performance, but just like for what the movie is, his acting is really good. Because the movie itself is not my favorite movie. It's probably like a B, and then the acting by itself, I think, might raise it to an A minus. Might be an A minus. Just the acting. The film itself is kind of like a B. But I think it's obscure. It's not really one that people tend to go for. Um, on the streaming services and all that. You do have to look out for it. Okay, up next is I'm just gonna go until I run out of ones I've seen because there are some here I just haven't seen. It's probably more than I'm prepared to accept. Okay, Joker. Everyone knows this one. Let's just do Joker. Now he was barely in this film, and this film was really big on production design, costume department, wardrobe, right, makeup, lighting's immaculate. Like it's just really a show. It's like a runway show. So the whole thing is so visual. De Niro was really good at acting in it, but he was in like a scene or two, or he was in snippets on the TV because he was the anchor. He was the TV show host. Um, he's not really a villain. He's not really anything. I mean, he just sort of is in the movie, and he's a it's more like a cameo than anything, honestly. So I would give this a C. Um, it's like a little like Copland. But then again, but the acting in this one was I don't know. I want to say it was good because De Niro was so old that the vitality he portrays in the movie was like kind of unexpected. But beyond that, he wasn't doing anything super unremarkable. It wasn't like he was playing um outside his range. I think he's probably been typecasted so much as this older tough guy actor by the younger crowd, and the younger audience is the younger audience is the younger audience is they probably don't even know what De Niro really is. So they watch this and they just know he's like this legendary actor, and it just they feel good seeing it. So I don't think it's really like a meaningful role. It's sort of like one of those just latter day um, uh, attempts at being relevant, and it actually is very effective. But it isn't more than what it was set out to be, unfortunately. Okay, Meet the Parents. This is actually probably one of the first movies I saw De Niro in because it's a film. It's a movie where you it's a movie where you uh or it's just like you're as a kid, you're not really don't know what a De Niro is, and you just watch these goofy family-oriented films, and you're like, oh yeah, this is funny. Oh, this tough guy, he's my parents tell me he's a famous actor, so I'm gonna take it seriously. And he plays a serious character. He takes it seriously. Um, I like this particular film is uh is pretty. I get it. It's pretty funny. He's like a joker in terms of what does for his reputation. It's a pretty it's a clever movie. It's like, I like this. It's in a ballpark. It fathers this is a sequel. And from what I read, this was also going to be decided. Maybe Captain work the course like 1 year or so. I still remember well enough. I was put in the if you're both kind of average for how interesting they are as performances go. Because the reason these comedies are noteworthy at all is because Niro has to play a serious character in a world that doesn't take him seriously. He takes himself seriously, and it's sort of clash with the social media. The reason it doesn't. The reason it doesn't clash is because Niro is just such a hard ass. He really, you know, he really can rein in, he really control and rein in uh, other people in these scenes. I decided it was something actually very um, rigid and cool about this performance. Even though Terrence McFarlane was just like kind of stupid movie, the dynamic that Niro has with other actors is quite noteworthy and not typical to a time of this actor like Niro films. Okay, up next, Heat, another good one. This one is honestly amazing. A stupendously fun movie. I look at it anyway. I think it's a movie anyway. Follow this one in this particular tier list is more an Al Pacino movie for sure, but the Nero actual acting, while the character is pretty compelling, um, the acting is not difficult for the most part. It's the most difficult character, at least I don't think so. Does he kind of there's a lot of like stares. He doesn't really talk on screen that much. It's a lot of voiceover, right? Or it seems like voiceover y. He doesn't really talk. He talks away from the camera. It's just not a dynamic performance. But that is not to say the movie is bad. I think the character shouldn't have been a dynamic character. Didn't really the Neil, what's his face? That character, what's his name? That Neil character is not as cohesive, as if he's all over the place. He needs to be contained. And this film does that. And I think it's a for De Niro it's an A just because of how iconic the scenes are. But like I also think it's I think the film is an A. I'm gonna have to say that for De Niro it's probably a B. Because he does have some good moments, but it's just not out of control like in some of his best performances. Yeah, it's not spectacular. What? I'm sorry, I'm doing a podcast. I'll talk to you. See you. Okay, up next is Casino. Casino is actually a little bit like Heat, even though in Heat he sort of plays like this thuggish bad guy. In Casino, he kind of plays a little slightly more sympathetic tough guy. But the difference is that the acting is kind of muted in both. Or sorry, the similarity is that the acting is muted in both. And and I think this one might be an A because he's just so much more sympathetic, and actually he's kind of downright pathetic, But like it's more with the machinations in the background and all the um rowdiness of the side characters. I think he's very uh um he's like he's kind of anchors in the film. Um he does he's not stellar, it doesn't counterpoint to anything too well, but he just anchors the film in because everyone else is so crazy. He's kind of the voice of reason. So I think Casino in a subtle type way is a little better than Heat as a De Niro film. But I still think they're kind of in that same range of just sort of boring, bland acting that just kind of works because the movie revolves around that sort of personality. And I don't mean to be mean, but I think it's just not the strongest acting on display, or the most energetic. Now this one, weirdly enough, hot take, Midnight Run. I think the acting in Midnight Run might be a little more fun. It might be a higher level A. Now this is a comedy from the late '80s, but De Niro's acting in it is actually really good. And I think his acting in comedies for in this entire career is not as well acknowledged as it perhaps should be. Underrated, right? I would give this an S. I think his acting in this one was a lot more dynamic. Um, he's in almost every scene, and he's in a lot of different tough situations. Um, but it's comedic acting, right? So maybe it's a little silly. So S is probably generous. I would give it a low A, because it's comedic, but it's still it's just a lot of De Niro on screen, and like Meet the Parents or Meet the Fockers, he's kind of controlling your reaction to the film almost the entire time. The other characters are actually really kind of cheesy, and De Niro's the only one who has any severity to him. So it's a good performance. Great Expectations. See, okay, so I'm at wit's end, because Great Expectations I haven't seen. I need to actually know someone who worked on that film. I should probably write him that email I was gonna write him. Where we have Sleepers. Yeah, I don't know. Frankenstein. I didn't even know that was made. What just happened? Yeah, Machete. I didn't know he was in Machete. I should have known that, but I didn't. Goodfellas. Okay, finally one I can do. In Goodfellas, he's not even. I mean, we all know that he's not the main character. And he's not really even the most interesting secondary character. He's kind of the deuteragonist. He's kind of the second in command, and I think he's good in it though. It's better than I think Al Pacino and Donnie Brasco is a lot more dynamic, a lot more in like star power. But De Niro in this is really sympathetic and cool, and he's got some interesting moments here and there, and he's convincing. I think he's more convincing than Al Pacino was, just less interesting. Um, and he's in the movie a lot, and he's a very important character. So I give it a B. I think it's a little like Heat. I think we're kind of relying on him as sort of a heavyweight, but he doesn't really have to do all that much. So I give it a B. And obviously the movie is like, it's like a godsend, but just his performance is like a B. Righteous Kill. Oh, this is one with both Pacino and De Niro, and I don't even remember what it was about. I'm pretty sure I saw it when I was like a kid, and I like a teen, like a tween, right? Don't even remember what it was about. The Irishman. I did see this, and he was the main character, and it was a lot of him on. I think his acting in this was good. I would give it. I don't know if I'd give it an S. I give it an A at minimum. An S is kind of like if didn't have so much makeup on and there weren't so many visual effects, reversifying his age, I would probably give it an S. But because it's just like he had so many things, he was relying on so many props and crutches and gimmicks. I just kind of don't know if I can really give it top ranking. But it was definitely like in got had some show stopping moments for sure. I also think that as like a caveat, the audition performance was way better. So you can sort of really contextualize it. I give it an A out of appreciation for what he did in the film. The character he played was a cool character, and I like a lot of scenes in that movie. I kind of rewatch it because it's not usual film, right? It's like the mob, but it's sort of not the mob. It's values of like going into it. He's not influenced with the mate. It seems way before at all. There's one person who's not like that. And someone's like, it seems full. Sort of mock on that person. This is you know, so I feel like there's nice reflection. Okay. Up next, for this reason, it's synthetic. I've seen a lot of these New York watch as a known standard for Niro's career. Grudge match. Very happy. I watched his really early career. And I watched some weird movies that I might never expect him to be in all. Once upon a time in America, I didn't even know who was in that. I didn't even I saw that. It felt like the so many things that I remember being in that movie. Maybe I'm gonna give it a D. Is that only what I'm being in that movie? It was that easy. Now, I'm gonna go back. Okay, so it's safe. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see. He was fine. I just I don't remember him being in a film. That film, was it's like you notice someone who's famous if you saw it. It's not like it was a bunch of makeup that you wearing. Like he was in disguise. Very clear cut. Who was playing through. I didn't see the end. Maybe I'll show at the end. Oh, Little Fires. There's Little Fires. So I know it's part of that same series. But that's series, how good for title that in the let's say. Was also good anyway. Um, Sleepers to Expectations. Analyze this. Okay, I see bits and pieces. Analyze this. Analyze this is analyze this is okay. He's a pretty goofy movie. I would say it's an A because he's so goofy in it, right? It's like I mean, for comedic acting, you have to give him credit for pulling off any kind of ambitiousness, even if it's sort of cheap. Which I think the movie it does have some cheap displays of acting, but I think it's ambitious. So not my favorite movie by De Niro, but you can't disavow that he was trying to um, be memorable in it, and maybe because of the nature of that style. Like you could say, oh, he's doing a lot for the Italian American community by promoting this sort of pastiche I just feel like you have to give it less than an A because it's just cheap. It's not significant artwork on performance. It's overly comedic and 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 sort of bottom and bottom of the barrel. So that's about it. Uh, Damn, I feel like I trashed De Niro a fair amount. Never intended to do that. I just don't know. I didn't know he had so many random, like unremarkable films that he's just done. I mean, I guess he's just, he's a workaholic. Um, that just goes to show that here's the moral statement of this episode. You really success is all about work. Like you just do things and they don't pan out. It's okay. The next thing you'll get a little bit more recognition, and eventually, like on average, you probably made a bunch of shit in your life, but then you just get better and better at it. And then what was shit 20 years ago is like now gold shit. It's like shit caked in gold. And then even then, it's like every once you still make a hidden gem. Like you still exceed yourself every once in a while. So you just you're always improving, and you're gonna have to do a lot of bullshit in order to get to the point where you feel like you've actually accomplished something for once, and not just stirred yourself crazy. And De Niro's career is an example. It's like so many weird movies, and yet he's getting better and better at acting, and he was always really dynamic. And eventually, it's just like he's made like 20 great movies and a bunch of other movies that no one ever is going to watch again. And that's better than any of us can say about anything we've ever done. Just about, unless you're literally like some sort of physicist or doctor or whatever. I don't. Who cares? You know what I mean. Anyway, that's 37 minutes. Good night and good luck. I hope the audio is fine on your end, because I didn't even test it. I didn't even know he was in Brazil, dude. He's in every fucking movie now. So the ones I'm gonna see next, just to feel like I have like a better perspective on this, is Great Expectations, because I know someone worked on it. New York, New York. Novecento, because that's a historical one. I always go for those. Brazil, because I just keep hearing about it. The Mission, because it looks religious, and to me that's actually probably an intriguing story, because I didn't expect him to do that. Machete, because I didn't know he was in it, and now I want to see Machete, and it's all I was actually just about to do Robert Rodriguez reviews, but then I realized I just haven't seen his like, because I was never a fan, so I didn't really focus, I didn't hone in on it, and so I never saw microscopically watched all the Mexican movies he's done, and Machete is being the most recent version of those. Most recent um, iteration. Hi, Monty. That's something I probably don't see. Being flat out that means grudge match. That's almost one. The score I've heard that I don't know if it's any good. And Honor is probably the same. I don't know if it's any good. I've heard it. Yeah, pretty bad. I bought it on TV. I watch TV. I watch TV. They might just kill. Just the chance on the side. Little Fox, yeah, it's shit. Like, he's obviously been like lame movies. It's eye-opening to have only that lame Baron be able to really process how many single films. But with that said, I think we should continue this episode again, and then we want perhaps a more worthwhile actor, in my humble opinion, which is Al Pacino. I think Al Pacino probably better actor than Niro, but maybe a more embarrassing one. Like he's not as cool, and a lot of his roles are less um thug, if it were. I mean, like Starface, the other place I'm not fan about. I still feel like it's an element of like self-medication. Niro doesn't indulge. And so there's kind of a chasm of difference between these two mountains of Hollywood acting. So yeah, with that being said, I think we can end here at 40 minutes. And I have one film rest assured, if I'd seen Speeding Stones, probably would have found one. Shark Tale. Oh, I did see Shark Tale. I did see Shark Tale, didn't I? Just with Andy. Just say it. All right. Cheers.